All right, we are live. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, Huckleberry and Brent, and welcome to our non romantic shifter fantasy. And by non romantic, there might be some romantic subplots, but we're meaning this is not a book solely around a shifter and their mate. They've got a bigger plot picture. So I've been so excited for this panel because I'm realizing this weekend that so few readers know that this genre is waiting for them, especially from indie authors. So why don't we jump in with just talking a little bit about who you are, what kind of books you write. Huckle, do you want to start us off and then we can hear
Sure.
from you, Brent?
Sure.
So I have a series out about a girl who is the daughter of the werewolf alphas in Wisconsin. The first three books, she's in high school. The fourth book just came out and she's in college. It is, like you said, it doesn't have romance. As the theme, she is LGBTQ. All of her friends, not all, but most of them have some flavor of LGBTQ. So I like that in all the books I write because I feel our world is kind of rainbow themed. And so I really like that as part of what I write. So it's about her trying to navigate school. When she starts, none of her or her friends are werewolves, and they navigate kind of the transition from being just normal kids in high school to becoming shifters and what's that like and how does it happen. One of her friends isn't in paranormal and it's not out in this world, and how do you keep that world separate? And I think with the way I write, I really am more about the characters and the relationships and the interrelationships amongst all of the characters and her friends and her family. And so that's kind of what I'm writing right now and publishing.
Yeah, and there's a heavy family focus as a family as a whole in Huckleberry's books, as opposed to I shifted for the first time, who's my mate, which I really love seeing the
Yeah.
fresh that's not the first thing on this character's mind or these characters' minds, and it's like adjusting to a whole new lifestyle and what that means for their future. So
It does
uh,
happen with one of the characters. Like two of the characters do have like the thing with the mate, but the idea of mate is not big in the werewolves in the that I write. But yeah, I like the idea that werewolves mean family, not fighting
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
as the main. There is fighting, but not that's not the main focus.
Yeah, and Brent, it is so nice to meet you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you write?
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you too. I actually resonate a lot with a lot of what you said, Huckle. But um, not so much the last part. I have a lot of fighting. Um, I'm actually a martial artist, so it kind of that's something that has fed into my writing. And I try like all of the fight scenes are choreographed as well as I can and like realistic and things that I've learned in class and things like that. Um, it's not like the sole focus of the book, but they're like when it happens, it's supposed to be like that's kind of my thing is like I write fight scenes better than most people. That's my claim to fame. No, but yeah, the I write about werewolves mainly. I have another series, but that one's not shifter related. It's more superpowers. Um, so the werewolf book I have is a Bildungsroman. I believe it's called a tetralogy. Maybe it was only meant to be 3 books, and then I messed up. Um, so it starts out with the main character Garrick, and you actually you follow 2 timelines. So you see how he met his girlfriend, who is a werewolf, and what led up to him getting scratched and transforming into, entering that world, as it were. And then in the present timeline, it's more of a like struggle with his alpha. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Early on, you see that the alpha basically is he doesn't want to hurt people, but he doesn't care about them. It's like humans are less than us. If they get in our way, then it's a sacrifice that has to be made, to keep us safe. And he's not willing to make that sacrifice. So he kind of, there's splits with the pack, and it's very character focused, relationship focused, because it's his human best friend who's trying to help him through this, and how he like copes with how each member of his pack kind of it relates to his decision to go against the alpha, and then he's trying to keep all of this a secret from his mom because he's worried about her safety. So it's all of these intricate relationships. And then similarly, so he's in high school in the first book. The second book is like graduation, and then the third and fourth, they're all kind of focusing on their adult lives, and it's like, what careers are we going to do? What are we going to how are we actually going to be part of this human world as well? But yeah, and then it's just to address romance, I have a big romance theme that's important to me, that there is this kind of underlying wolves mate for life type of thing, right? But it's more of a unique, or I think it's unique, flavor to the world, rather than something like they don't imprint or something like that. It's not like oh, this is my mate. It's you make this decision, and then that kind of matters for one of the people because they make the wrong decision, right? And so it like affects, so it's more about how it affects the people and who they become, rather than like a central focus, right? It's very character driven. That's what I write, is character driven more than anything else, and that's kind of my claim to fame. Is character driven buildings roman is how I describe it.
And lots of fight scenes.
I'm
gonna have to get down your contact information for fight scenes.
I'm happy to help. Yeah, I'm a little bit annoying about it. I try not to be, but like when I'm watching TV with my friends, and I'm like, yeah, that was I was in it until they just threw that kick that is ineffective, but whatever, that's fine.
Oh, I live with people like that, so I'm good with that. That's okay.
Oh, so we got a couple pre-submitted questions, but we also have people watching live. So if you're live and you have questions for Brent and Huckleberry as we go through, please drop them in the chat. If you're on YouTube, I can pull them up on the screen. If you're watching on Twitter, I'll have to get them off and read them off for you, but I'm happy to do it. And speaking of that, you can also follow both Huckleberry and Brent's links in the description box if you're watching on YouTube as well. But Huckleberry, you're a teacher. How did you feel putting out a book as a teacher? Were you worried your students were going to read it and you'd be embarrassed, or were you proud of putting it out as a teacher? What was that like for you?
I was proud. Thus the no romance. Nothing I wrote am I embarrassed about. My students are more than welcome to read anything I write under this name, which is my real name.
I love that specific, under this one.
And this is my real name. I know Huckleberry Rar seems very pen namey, but it is not. This is what my very hippie parents, Huckleberry, gave me. I married into Rar. I have a pen name for the romance naughty scene books, and my students do not know that, because that would be awkward. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So you have them ever come up in class and be like, hey, I was reading your book?
They do sometimes. And actually, some of my reviews come from my students.
Wow. That's great. One we got for you, Brent, is, are you still looking for artists for your series? And if so, how can they get in touch with you?
I'm always open to it. You can get in touch with me through just brentmillerbooks@gmail.com. It's probably the easiest way for me, or Facebook. I did get the art for Powerless done. But yeah, I have so many projects and so many ideas. I do on that front. I got back in touch with Anton, who's the wonderful gentleman who has drawn the covers for all 4 of the Cursed books.
Mhm.
Actually more than 4, but he's wonderful, and he had to flee his country to continue working
wow.
with me, and not just for me, but continue doing his job. So I pitch that guy anytime I get a chance. But met him through Fiverr, and he's wonderful. So if anybody needs art and you like the style of Cursed, let me know, because I love sending people his way.
I love
But yeah,
that.
I mean, I'm always looking for like I said, I have like 5 series in the works right now. So if anybody wants to reach out, please do.
You have 2
Sorry.
authors who overwrite.
Yeah.
3. That's why I write epic.
That's true. You always have I'm always like, wait, she had 1 book. Now she has 23 books out.
How did this happen?
1 novella, just 1. And now there's
Yeah.
5, and it's in a collection of a hardback. But it was just supposed to be 1 novella.
Cursed was a 3-book series that turned into 4 with 12 novellas. So I know how it works.
I literally got my print copy in the mail last week for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's 90,000 words worth of 5 novellas. And I'm like, when did my 1 free novella turn into this monster?
So I can answer this question.
Awesome.
I came up with the idea of a non-romantic shifter book because I wanted to write for my kids. I have 2 sons, and they wanted something gritty and good and not middle grade. Middle schoolers can read it, obviously, because there's no romance, but they didn't want something where it immediately went to romance. They still wanted something with twists and turns, and not something that just went A, B, C, done and was obvious. I believe that there is some bits in my book that people go, oh, I did not expect that.
Yes.
So
there's a big twist in your book. We'll just leave it at, there's lots of different shifters in her world. And when I first picked up the book, I thought it was just going to be wolves. And I was like, oh, what?
Yeah, you should get to book 5. But yeah. And so my book has twists and turns, which I really like. And when my main character in book 2 gets attacked by geese, so there's funny bits. It's one of my favorite scenes. Geese are mean. I don't know if anyone lives.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had interactions with geese, but geese swarm on the bike paths around my house. And so if I'm walking or running or biking on the bike paths and they're out, especially when they have the baby geese, they're mean. So.
Geese shifters are the bullies of the shifter world.
I have yet to write geese shifters, but my friends are all like, why not? Why haven't you? I'm like, because they would have to be the evil ones. Wait, I may have put it in 1 book I wrote last year. I write 12 books a year, but some of them are just little short ones that I kind of shelve. I may have put a goose shifter. I don't know if my friend is on, but she could comment and tell me, because she reads all my books. Poor soul.
If you're on, let us know. Should there be a goose shifter? Has there been a goose shifter? Go ahead, Brent. What brought you to the idea of a non-romantic shifter book?
So I don't think that I have quite as interesting of an answer as that. For me, there was never a moment that I was like, oh, this is a niche that isn't filled or something. I just kind of write what I love. What's oh dear, we're starting a subgenre here. No, I just I write the stories that I want to tell. And so this one, that's kind of where it led me. And I guess I'll say that when I started Cursed, I was 16. And part of the big thing for me that I get so annoyed when my teachers would tell me that like everything has a meaning in a book. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Sometimes authors just like colors. Like, it's fine. So I was like, I'm going to tell a story. Not everything has to mean something. By the time I got to the fourth book, I realized that I've been chasing themes. And like my big themes in Cursed, I have kind of two main characters that both get some spotlight. And one of their ideas is, what does it mean to be a leader? And that's kind of Garrick, like starting from the very beginning when he's questioning his alpha and he's quite, it's like, what does that mean? And that's something I'm really passionate about. So I wanted to write that. It wasn't so much that I was excluding romance as it wasn't the core piece. But then my other kind of main character, the theme became, what does it mean to love? Which means there definitely is like some romance focus on there. But I guess in terms like that, then we get to the line of what is erotica and whatever, right? And I'm just uncomfortable writing certain scenes, so I just didn't. So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a long-winded way to say that I don't think that I have a good answer.
You accidentally write the themes in.
Yeah, exactly. I do, but that's kind of the magic to me, because like I didn't sit down and say like, okay, I care about leadership. I'm gonna tell you guys, I wrote this kid who is frankly really annoying and unbearable, and I knew he was when I wrote the first book. And some readers have told me that, and it's like, yeah, but that's the point, because then you get to the fourth one and you're like, whoa. But I wrote this kid, and I slowly kind of like his alpha's making decisions, and he's like, these are kind of weird, and I'm like, oh, okay, so now he's thinking about leadership, and so I start delving in, and it's just like, it just happens. Yeah, exactly. It takes a life of its own, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and as a pantser, that's how I tend to write mine too. And I think because I read a lot of epics, some of those themes creep in.
Yeah.
But it's usually, I had this cool dream and I want to find out what happened. So I'm just going to start writing and see where it goes. And by the end, I'm like, did I write that?
Right.
Are you a pantser too?
Yes, I'm a pantser.
It's like one of the conversations we've never had.
I know. So for those, if you're watching and you're a reader or you're a fellow writer and you're new, there's usually pantsers, planters, and planners. Although I think they're starting to call pantsers discovery writer. I'm going to stick with pantser. Like I'll just open up a blank document and write the words. And yeah, I have to chop out 5-page pickling scenes here and there and chop off my endings and redo those sometimes, but that's okay.
When I write in one point of view, so all of the Jade series was one point of view, I pants it. Because I'm like, so for Wolf Healer, she goes on spring break. And so I thought, okay, get her to spring break. And I wrote until I got to spring break. And then I'm like, okay, what's the fallout of spring break? And so I thought, okay, this is the next big thing I want to have happen. She's going to have a big fight with her best friend. Right to the big fight. Okay, then what's going to happen? And then I wrote. And so that's how I wrote the entire book. And then the next book. Just big plot points. When I'm writing in my pen name, which is more romance, and there's 2 point of views, I'm more of a plantser because I have to figure out what each point of view has. So I usually write down each of the names and I write like one word. But one word does not a chapter make. So like, and then I just kind of like, I usually get about halfway through my planning of the book and then I stop because I'm like, I don't know. How do I know what's going to happen at that point? The characters haven't talked to me beyond there. And then I kind of stop. And then I write the rest of the book without planning it because I'm like, this is boring. Writing an outline is dumb.
Poetry by Huckleberry Rar one day. We've got your outlines, which is chapter, one word, chapter, one word. Wow.
I wrote one book where all I wrote was what the conversation would be between the two main characters on each of their dates, but that was it. Just like the topic, like they will talk about this and that's it. Like, I'm like, I didn't even say what chapters it would be. I'm just like, I have to make sure they talk about these things throughout the book. And that's like, so there's like 8 words. And I'm like, that's my whole outline for the whole book is like these 8 words. I'm like, okay.
These things. And then they ate cake.
And then they ate cake. Well, yeah. And then, yeah. And
So
it wasn't
Brent,
a fantasy book, but then I made the cake a dragon because
I made the cake.
the shape of a dragon. Because I'm like,
Was it cake episode or is it cake? You know.
oh, that show is amazing.
Yeah. So Brent, are you planner, pantser, planter?
Man, I feel like such a snob whenever I answer questions.
You're
I don't
not
like titles. From the sound of it, it sounds like I plan a little more than you guys do.
It's okay.
But-
Anybody plans better more than I do. Just open the file.
like I don't intentionally plan, but you know, I think of things when all the time. I never stop thinking about it. I have a little bit of ADHD, which you know it's good and bad because it helps me. Like I'm working on one thing and I'm like, oh hey, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I kind of I plan general outlines. Like I definitely know where the story ends. Usually I have the last line of the book before anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, oh look, it ended. Cool.
Yeah, that's
Luna's
I
plan.
like I almost write to certain scenes. That's like really powerful moments. I'm like, okay, and then they get here, and then you know.
Mm-hmm. And then there was a dragon cake.
Exactly.
And then
there's for me, it's usually pie.
It could be a dragon pie.
It could be, yeah. No,
Dragon pie guarded by a goose.
My
guarded by a
editor always
goose.
tries to add in huckleberry treats into all of my books.
Oh yeah.
So like we'll add a huckleberry muffin. And I'm like, you can't do, but they always try to slip it in anyway.
Uh-huh. That's funny.
And so I'm like, to see if I'll notice.
Right. I had a character who just like I was trying to make my characters feel more human, so his quirk is just that he loves pie, and that's just kind of became a thing. So that was an accident, but now at least once every book he has to be eating a pie. So
I love it so much. I try to work food into my books because I love it, and that's how I ended up with the 5-page pickling scene, because I was like, readers need to understand how these people make pickles.
You have to understand.
But my editor was like, nobody needs to know how to make pickles. Like, they could literally go pickle something reading this book, so that scene got cut, and now it's like 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to go on about something, it's probably food.
My friends tell me that reading my books make them hungry and want coffee. I once had somebody to ask me, do you think teenagers drink that much coffee? And I'm like,
Yes, I do.
yes, I do. I honestly do.
And Brent's book, while I'm thinking about it, was 99 cents on Amazon when I looked earlier today. So if it still is, you can grab the first one, Cursed. And then they both have their books on Kindle Unlimited. And Huckleberry, one of the questions we got from for you is actually about Kindle Unlimited. So this is a writer question. But basically, have you had much luck writing a YA book on Kindle Unlimited? Do you feel like teenagers actually use KU?
I've had a lot of luck on Kindle Unlimited. That's where most of my reads come from. I get way more reads on Kindle Unlimited than selling books. I get probably between 12,000 and 20,000 pages read a month with my 4 books. Well, I would say with 3 books. I don't know what it was. Last month, the 4th one dropped, and so I got a big boost. But like August, September, October, and November, it was between 12 and 20,000 pages read.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Brent? Because you've got YA
Yeah.
too. So
I so Cursed, I haven't had a lot of like financial success with in general,
mhm.
and you know, the reason I know the reason behind it. It is a tough read. Oh, kitty. Um, a lot of people just don't resonate with the character because he is intentionally starting at a point that he has to grow from. Um, so for me, it's hard to say. Although with Cursed, I have had more success selling physical copies, um, because I can talk to people in person and be like, yeah, here's kind of the goal. Look, it's 4 books, whatever. Um, but I I have my other series, Powerless, is again not my focus for this panel, but I have had incredible like jaw dropping success with that one. For me, it's a couple probably 20,000 pages read in the past each month the past couple months. But I've been spending on advertising for that too. So
I was going to ask you with your books, are you doing, because the reason I have my success is because of I do Amazon ads.
yeah, I've been doing Facebook. Facebook has worked better for me than Amazon. I don't know why, but again, it's like Powerless is picking up traction, and I'm kind of like, I just published the 4th Cursed book, and now I'm kind of shifting focus more to Powerless just because that seems to be what people are reading. And the novellas for Cursed, I'm writing them because I think that they're stories that need to be told and they're really important to me, but like the timeline's a little less important on those because it's not like if readers start telling me they really want them, I'll kick them out. But yeah, it's Facebook ads is helping me. But I do think that people are using it for sure because I'm seeing substantial, like, more from Katie.
Well, I'll say adults read KU or read
Yes.
YA. So
That's
I
true,
lied. I've had 20 to 50,000 pages read between August and December. I just got my actual numbers. I was
Well,
curious.
something Huckleberry told me earlier this year that I'll share with the writers who are watching, because I see we've got a couple writers who've been commenting. There's a lot of free resources, especially from Kindle themselves. They had a free ad, like, I'm blanking on the word, but basically like a workshop, but it was over a couple days of how to run ads through Amazon and Kindle Unlimited and how to pair sort of those things.
There's a free class coming up this month.
Yeah.
The 5-day Amazon ad class is coming up in a couple of weeks.
So yeah,
and that's where I
definitely
learned.
get into that. If that's something that you're doing, there's lots of avenues. You don't have to put up on KU. There's pros and cons, but find out where your genre is. My genre personally doesn't read as much on KU as a shifter genre, and I put several books up on KU and got very little reads. And so I had to approach mine a little differently because more of my readers are also on other platforms than just Amazon. So you have to say, where are your readers? What are they reading on? And that's all a little more technical than we'll get to in this panel. But I may try to bring some authors back who have successful KUs later this spring and let them share their expertise and their experience.
And I'm going to test out Facebook ads because I've just did a seminar on those. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try
it. For me, the targeting seems to be more like beneficial, I guess. Like I'm more easily to target the specific audience I'm looking for. I don't think that was a sentence, but you understood it. So
no, we're good. So yeah, and hey, Lawrence, I see you're on. Good to see you with us tonight. So what we're going to do at this point, we've been talking a lot about the books that we put out and how we put them out and how we wrote them. But in 2023, it's a brand new year. Last time you were here, I think I mentioned Wolf Healer. I know we haven't had Huckleberry on, but it's been like a year since Huckleberry came out with the first book. And as she said, now she's got 4 books out. Huckleberry, what are you working on for 2023? Are you going to keep putting out, the book every quarter?
I have, right before I came in, I was doing I'm almost to the point where I'll have my second edit on book 5, which is Pack. And that's scheduled to come out in May. And then Battlefield, which is the last of the series, comes out in August, which with the name Battlefield, Brent, you can see why I might want someone else to look at it for fighting, because it is called Battlefield. Over in NaNoWriMo, I wrote 2 Phoenix Shifter books that are going to be my next series. Mm-hmm. So I'll look at those as well. So that's kind of the next. And those have a non-binary main character. And so writing with they, them pronouns was a trip. Something new to learn.
I can say as an editor, it makes for very fun editing too. Making sure that it makes sense, especially mostly when it's a group. There's like 6 people. And so then you're trying to decide, how to word it so it flows well and is respectful of the character, but also doesn't sound like you're talking about the whole group at the same time. There's technical aspects to doing it.
Yeah, it's a fun challenge.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you got this.
I got it. Yes. I
and
wrote 106K. So
that was Bagel, my son's orange cat. I have 3 cats. Sophie is mine, and Yala is my husband's, and Bagel. I don't know how they got in here. There are 3 doors between this office where I'm doing the live and then the living room where Bagel was. And so Bagel would have had to go from the living room through my bedroom through this office. And somehow she got in here. So Brent, 2023. So last year you got artists, you got a big load of books up and running and everything. What's coming in 2023?
So with Cursed, I actually was publishing, like, that was more of a once a year thing. They're each like 120,000 words or so. So they're chonkers. But I just published the 4th book in that series, and I do have 6 novellas out and then 6 more that I'm writing. And while it's not my main focus right now, I definitely am, like, I'm writing one that's about it's, trying to minimal spoilers here, but it's about Garrick's daughter, and it's set, years after. It's like the next generation thing. And I'm so excited about that one. Like, I'm writing this one for me. It's going to come out in 2023. I don't know how early though. Because the way that I did it before with Cursed was like, I have three novellas that each get published, and then there's a collection. I'm just going straight to the collection this time.
Yeah.
But no, my main focus for 2023 is Boundless, which is the sequel to Powerless. And that's kind of a new journey. It's the Powerless is about a high schooler, like, but it's graduating. I'm kind of moving a little away from young adult into new adult territory. So the first chapter is kind of his graduation type ceremony. But yeah, he's the only person in the world who doesn't have superpowers. And that's kind of the whole thing there. So and then he goes on his adventure. Boundless is about his friend, and that's what I'm working on.
It's one of my favorite tropes, by the way, is the flip of the only person in the world with superpowers or magic or whatever it is to be the only person in the world that is normal by our standards.
Well, to be fair, I very quickly abandoned that trope. He does have powers. It's the premise of the book. He's 17 at the start of the book. and he's lived the first 17 years of his life believing he doesn't have superpowers. But at the end of, I think, chapter 2 is when his power starts to like activate, and he's like, what the crap is going on? Because they're supposed to get it when they're 5. And he's like, what's happening? But basically the real like drive of the book is that his power is so terrifying that the council like hid it from him. Nobody wanted him to know that he could do these things. So it's really like a dystopian kind of like corrupt government type of question. But
So it's got some Naruto vibes too, in a way.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's it sounds great. I can't wait to read.
It's very much an anime like vibe.
He's a late bloomer.
Yeah.
I love how this has become this goose thing has become a running.
I know, I'm telling you,
goose.
It's going to be a whole thing now.
It is in my books. Like the goose thing repeats over, but it's not a weregoose. Katherine, did you ever read the second of my books?
I read the second and the third one.
Oh, did you really?
The fourth one. Yes.
So, my son wants me to write Pebble's story.
Oh.
When Pebble is in like her 20s.
Wow.
So that I started outlining as well.
So more of a new adult in that one.
So yeah, because I'm thinking like her last year of college, she takes over the Wisconsin PAC type thing. So it would be like,
yeah,
she'd have to be older. So I actually made a TikTok about that with asking questions about possible like ideas about what to do with it. Because my son has ideas. He's been pushing this since I wrote book 2. Like, write about Pebble now. I'm like, oh, okay. Pebble's 5. I don't care. Write about Pebble.
You know, the characters that the fans love are always the ones that surprise me the most.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, like Brooke was supposed to be a throwaway character. I'm horrible at throwaway characters. Brent, I don't know about you, but I'll just throw like a random character in.
I didn't think you had any throwaway characters.
I never do. I will randomly throw a character in as like someone she brushes past, and I'll name the character just as a throwaway, and then that character will suddenly never ever go away.
Yeah.
Ever.
You're here forever. Join the Weregoose clan.
I very intentionally, like, if there are throwaway characters, I just generally don't name them. I'm like, yeah, and then there was this guy that they talked to for 5 minutes, and we don't care about him. We're going to talk about somebody else now.
It's like a pet. Once you name them, you get attached to them, and you just can't let them go.
Once they get a name, they're never going away. Yeah, apparently.
Or if they are, you're going to cry over it for days and feel so guilty about yourself. And be like, why am I doing this?
I had a character in one of my novellas who his name is Kyle, because I generally use like normal human names for characters I don't intend to keep around very much. I don't know why. That's the way I work. And he was in one chapter of a novella that is set. So the pack leader is named Aldrich. He's like 400 years old. There's a book that kind of outlines the first 400 years of his life and why he had problems with his family and stuff, right? And he's working this job at some engineering firm because I'm an engineer and I could write about that. And his boss has one line, and that's Kyle. And my brother is always like, yeah, but what's Kyle doing? And I'm like, well, Kyle is dead. He died like 300 years ago. Get over it.
There is no Kyle.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, he's like, it's anytime my book comes up, he's like, yeah, Kyle's my favorite character. No, he's not.
When I wrote my debut, The Violet Twisted Fate, there was a character who was literally a messenger from the evil queen to the main character. Mm-hmm. He's in there for all of a page and a half, maybe 2 pages max, before I did, like when I was writing the original. And then I gave him a tiny sliver of time in the opening before I published it. But everybody seems to love this character. And I've had so many people being like, why does this character die? And I'm just like, I mean,
I introduced him to Die because his name
Yeah,
was
this-
I Die character. I gave him a red shirt. Did you not notice
I
the
gave
red
him a red
tunic?
shirt.
I mean, it's a giant smoke creature with somebody floating inside of it and like sent from the evil queen. So I was like, yeah, but I mean, I think it's amazing because apparently you put your heart and soul into the book and readers pick up on that even when
Yeah.
we've sort of lost sight of it. And they're like, I love this tiny aspect that you've shown me.
Yeah.
Now I want more of them. And I'm like, I don't know what to write about them. I haven't really thought about them that much.
Right. Well, or for me, it's sometimes it's characters that I don't like. Like, it was supposed to be. Yeah, that it's the journey, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Every
like-
time. I am
like I have
horrible
a-
at stupid, like, throwaway characters. I've had so
Yeah.
many of them come to bite me in the butt, I tell you.
I
Yeah,
have a
before you
character
know it.
that like I specifically don't like, and it's not it's not like I didn't write him well. I just gave him personality traits that I would not personally want to be around. He's a good person,
Mm.
but he's like everybody's favorite character, and I'm like, leave him alone. I'm not writing more about him. We're not friends.
It just never goes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes. So, looking ahead at this year, since we're coming up a little close on our time,
Mhm.
if you had to pick one specific thing that the readers who are watching should look for from you, what would it be, Brent?
Oh boy. Well, the readers who are watching this, I'm gonna have to say, the next Cursed Legacies collection is going to be coming out. That's bound by choice. That's the one with basically it's the aftermath of Wolfsbane, which is the fourth book. That's the one where the story about Garrick's daughter is, and that is like, I don't know if it's the biggest masterpiece I've ever written, but it is quite possibly my favorite book, just because I love her so much, and like I think it really brings it back to like nobody in Cursed has siblings, and so Garrick has 4 kids, and these 4 have it really brings it back to a familial relationship, and the world's kind of safe, so you get to see them joking with each other, and it's just a fun vibe. So I would say look out for that. I think it's a nice shift from the darkness that kind of follows Cursed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And Huckleberry, how about you? Oh, you got a comment too.
Emily is one of Lawrence's best characters. She's going to get books all of her own. One sentence, never. So, book 5 of the Jade Stone Chronicles is coming out, as is book 6, but also this new Phoenix series, which I'm trying to write. The 9 binary. I am hoping to get that out. And if everything goes as planned, maybe this summer the first one will come out.
Take my monies.
Might be the other way around. My editor has gotten very, very busy, so we might be talking, you and I.
Sounds good. Y'all can look me up anytime. But seriously, I've got to read the Phoenix book. Phoenix is one of my favorite fantasy creatures.
Just wait till you see what I do, because I never do things in the normal way. There's always like a weird, different twist when I create a character, right?
They should have wergeese parents.
What? No,
They have wergeese parents.
there's no wergeese, but I definitely, I always have to have a twist, right?
Yeah.
You've read Carter Casey. There's always a little twist when I do things. It's never normal.
Right.
And Brent, I've got your book added on my TBR list too.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you.
2023. I feel bad that I haven't read your books, but we met so recently.
Oh yeah, I mean, like a month ago.
Lawrence, I
Yeah.
don't know if you heard on when Brent was describing his book, but it sounds like something you would really like too, by the way.
Thanks.
So thank you all. And that's a good point, Huckleberry. If you're joining us a little later than the start and you missed the beginning and you want to watch it, or you want to watch any of the other panels we've done, the replays will stay up on both Twitter and YouTube. We have done, as of today, 19. I'm way ahead of myself. I'm ambitious here. I'm thinking to the end of the week. No, we have done 15 different panels.
That's still an impressive number there.
That's still a lot.
In the
I'm way
last
ahead
3
of
days.
myself.
And we have one more tomorrow, a couple this weekend. And so, yeah, a lot of different fantasy indie authors that you can plug into, add to your TBR list, complain to me about your now overloaded TBR list, and subscribe if you'd like to catch the next panel. The next one, though, will have romance. It's going to be a paranormal romance panel, a YA one. So be prepared.
Be prepared. Dun, dun,
And they
dun.
won't have weregeese, I don't think. But they'll have their own.
That's
The
it. I
weregeese
will
will
write a
surprise you.
weregoose story. That's it. It's on my list.
I'm thinking, is there any way I can work it into Starfire Express when I do the rewrite? Because now I want a weregoose.
I have a list of stories I need to write, and I know which story I will add it to.
Awesome.
All right.
Brent,
It will be added in, I promise. Next year, when we do this again, I'll be like, okay, I added the weregoose into a story. It's coming out in 2024.
this is
Or
the
I'll
panel.
say,
Yes,
this is
the Dare panel.
yes, I will tell you all about the weregoose next year.
little weregoose tease.
And last year, Sky Summers challenged me to write a frog prince into something this year. And I was her and Madame Crystal Butterfly. And so I did. I wrote it into an epilogue in The Godmother, which is free for people who sign up for my newsletter. And it has some Asian influence because that's me. It's a very dark fantasy, though. So if you're watching, you don't like dark. It is romance free, 100%. But it is dark. But it has that. So now this year, Huckleberry and I guess, are going to write weregeese. And Brent, you think you can squeeze a weregoose into something this year?
Well, I tell you, Lawrence is in my writers group, so he is hearing this. So now that I've said it, there's no backing down because he's going to be like, which story?
They are a weregoose. Oh, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for spending your evening with me, and Happy New Year. I wish you all the best in 2023.
Yeah, thank you for setting this up and for inviting me. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Glad to have you on. And Huckleberry, so glad to chat live with you for the very first time ever.
Yes, we have to do this again. This was fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.